eventually you get absorbed in and you are Sonic.
Hey everybody, and welcome to No Repeat, a podcast where we pick 3 songs every week with no repeats and no do-overs to create a perfect playlist for every occasion life throws at you. Joining me for the first of our end-of-year special episodes, it's my esteemed co-host Tyler Reed.
Remix!
And formerly known as a percussionist, Sean Evans.
So, you guys got your Spotify recap last week, right?
Well, my Apple Music recap, but yeah.
Oh, your Apple Music recap. Okay, well, I know Tyler and I got our Spotify ones. And one of the fun facts, this is not going to blow anybody's mind on here, but I thought it was fun, that I am in the top 2% of like number of listens to the Deftones. Of the entire Spotify universe, I am in the top 2% of Deftone fandom. And it gave me the option to say, like, at Deftones to let them know.
Look at you.
And I was like, I don't think I need to do that. But I didn't realize that I listened to them that much.
I can. I mean, to be fair, they've been historically one of your favorite bands. So, I mean, like...
It's not that
I started
surprising.
liking them when I was in graduate school, so it hasn't really been that long.
Well, it is our version of Spotify Wrapped around here. We do 3 end-of-year special episodes in a row. This is the first of 3. This week we'll be talking about our favorite remixes and covers of the year. Next week we'll be talking about some classic tracks that we discovered either for the first time or rediscovered this year. And then we'll end off with the best song of 2021 in our Song of the Year episode, which will come out on New Year's Day. So for remix or cover of the year, the criteria is it has to be a remix or a cover released within this year, but the way our other show rules work is remixes and covers of songs count as instances of the same song. So, for example, if there was a remix of Seven Nation Army this year, it wouldn't matter because Seven Nation Army is already on this playlist. And so that is chucked out. So that does make this a little bit harder because you have to find new songs that have been remixed and covered each year. And I have to...
An increasingly more dangerous endeavor every year we continue to do this show.
You know, it is, but I was going to say this was a pretty rich year for this kind of thing because a lot of bands still weren't touring. It felt like there were a lot of covers, EPs, or covers projects that came out this year, so it was really kind of a plethora of choices. Did you guys feel that way?
A little bit. I mean, we did covers this year, I believe, already.
Just in the 2020 recap, we haven't done like a cover episode this year. I don't think.
No, because I picked Baby Doobie redoing Don't Forget About Me.
Oh, that's right. That's right. We have done a covers episode this year. That's true.
But it hasn't been like, what's the best one of the year?
Yeah.
And that's maybe why so when I originally picked this, I thought it was remixes, which is fine because I was going to go with this one anyway. But when Tyler put his in, I was like, I think we need to go and clarify some of the rules for a second because this is definitely a cover and not a remix. But then I just read that it said covers and I was like, okay, well, it wouldn't change anything for me, but I really wanted to just, kind of, nice hat.
You know, there really weren't that many remixes that stood out to me this year. Like, looking through my 2021 recap playlist that Apple puts together, I don't think there's a single remix on it.
I mean,
This was the year of bedroom pop. There's no need to do covers.
It's not I mean, lots of remixes came out, but I feel like there was... It was... I feel like it's sort of... I think the landscape is changing a little bit, and I think it's kind of going to be going in 2 different directions. That being either... like we're kind of already seeing it where it's like there's just thousands of like soft acoustic slowed down like 0.75% versions of like most songs. So like they're like if you Google that, like, top remixes, top covers 2021, it's just going to be like all of that. Like it is an impossible bin of content to wade through.
Yes. And let's be honest, none of us were ever going to pick Rip Momney's cover of Girl Put Your Records On.
Right. There's a certain vibe that we sort of just completely ignore. So there's that, and then I mean we saw like Gex in the 100 Gex in the Tree of Clues that came out last year. Dawn of Chromatica came out this year. Yeah. So like there's like a sort of like prestige like almost like remix album kind of thing that's coming out, and then also the Metallica one, which is like hundreds of songs. Well, not hundreds. There's like tens of songs, all of the same song being covered by different people, which I think in the streaming era is going to be probably the format going forward.
I agree. And when that project was first announced, we kind of mocked it on our Patreon exclusive bonus show, Billy Joe Armstrong's Musical Notebook. But I have to say, when it dropped, I didn't listen to the whole thing because I'm not a Metallica superfan, but I did bounce through it and listen to the covers from people that I liked. And it was kind of fun if like two bands that you like did the same song, because you could kind of go in and like compare notes, so to speak. But I think just my lack of connection to the source material made it hard on that one. And I guess that's why, like, when I'm looking for a good cover, I want some, like, nostalgia for the source material in my head, but I don't want it to be too faithful. Like, I think back to Weezer's cover of Toto's Africa. Like, it's just kind of the same song, and I want something to, like, reinterpret a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think all of our picks this week definitely do that.
See, I just heard She Plays Bass in my head at 75% done by Chris Stapleton.
Yikes.
If you can put all those together in your mind, tell me what you think. Tweet us. Or Instagram is probably... I mean, who does Twitter anymore?
All right, well, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Sean, what you got?
This week I chose Modern Guy by Death from Above 1979 Grandson Remix. Figured I would just remix my intro to the song.
Singing Telegram version of that. Okay.
Yeah, you got it. It was a little more than a telegram. Thank you. Okay. So, listeners of the show will know that I've been talking, especially Billy Joe Armstrong, mad love for DFA 79 lately, particularly this album. But Grandson's remix takes Modern Guy, which is already a pretty good song, and really kind of like takes it into the electric realm, and I think it's a pretty good interpretation of it. It doesn't have the same like rock vibes, but I like the electric minimalized version of it a little bit, and it actually comes up on my running playlist and stuff a lot, and I feel like the electric build-ups and electric stutters actually do a really good job of making it a good song. That's not just kind of an electronic remix. I know that we talked about this on Billy Joe Armstrong before we got started on this song, that like remixes are just kind of the electronic version of a song and they're not always good. But I think that Grandson did a good remix here that kept the energy. This is my remix of the year.
So I have been slowly falling in love with Grandson over the last like year and a half, because his songs end up in Apple curated fitness playlists a lot, because he just has this like aesthetic that fits like workout music in his solo stuff and in his production and now in his remixes. And so when I saw that he was going to do a remix of Death from Above 1979, I was like pumped, because I also really enjoyed this record. And I have to say, someone else doing this could have seriously botched it, because it really like straddles the line between dubstep and trap in a way that I feel like a hip-hop or a techno producer would have pushed it all the way into one of those two genres. So like the first half of the song is real dubsteppy, and then you have a beat drop that goes into a trap beat at around the 130 mark. And I think Grandson, being primarily a rock musician who kind of dabbles in both of those styles, pairs them well with the source material in a way that, like, yes, it's aggressive, yes, it's over the top, but it's a remix. Like, it's meant to be kind of a lot. And I think he mostly nails it. The vocal effects on the first verse are a little much for me, because there's not enough going on in the beat to justify that amount of distortion at that point. But then later, when you add more to the beat, I think the distortion works. So I almost wish the distortion kind of ramped as the song went on and got crazier. So you start clean and get dirty. But other than that, I think this is like really artfully done, taking some really cliche things and doing something interesting and new with them.
Have you listened to the original?
Yes, I love the original. It's on my running playlist, so I'm going to add this to a separate running playlist.
Do you think it was difficult to do a affected song in an electronic affected way? Because when I listen to the original, it is very processed. It's done,
and that's what
through a lot of different like overdrives and stuff.
That's kind of what I'm wondering, is like maybe he didn't have access to a raw, clean vocal if it came to him in the format that it's on the record.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what kind of stems he got, but I wish he had mixed a few things together, I guess.
I think it's interesting that you noted on the sort of like the trap sort of like beat on this song, because it almost doesn't, I feel like that sort of technique almost sort of like transcends like that sort of genre, like of like the rap genre at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of everywhere now.
Because it feels like it's so part of like part of like a certain culture of like of music. And like this kind of almost reminds me of hold on, so what this like almost reminds me more of like a much more heavier like metal kind of sound, almost like Meshuggah, right? Or like kind of like more like almost like contemporary sort of like example is the soundtracks for the newest Doom games. Like BFG Division is a song that just like goes hard and just keeps going, and I feel like it incorporates a lot of different sort of sounds. And that's what's kind of nice about sort of like a soundtrack to a game, where you can kind of mix and match. You can just kind of play a lot, and so I feel like that allows for you to kind of make some new sounds. And so this sort of really kind of like embodies that sort of like the big hits of the song are exactly that sort of flavor, and it just gives me the most like primal feeling, like I'm like claws, or like just like I'm transforming into like a werewolf, like yes. So yeah, I definitely like it evokes such a vibe in this song that is so specific and so like unique right now. Because who's to say, I'm sure Grandson will probably do this to some other tracks, and I'll probably might be able to evoke that similar vibe. But yeah, I mean, I haven't really listened to Death from Above that much, but I remember you bringing this song up before, and I've definitely gone on the treadmill or done some like exercise and been like, yo, this is taking me to the next level. This is pumping me up. So I think I have a little less to say about, of this as a remix, but just knowing kind of like their format, what usually sounds like, this is clearly a mashup of two different sort of styles, and I feel like it's an overall improvement. So yeah, great.
All right, so now that we've got a remix out of the way, we can do some covers. I guess I will go first in the cover front.
Okay, here I go again.
I mean, would you rather go?
No, I'll go last. Don't you worry.
All right. All right, so this week I chose TK Maids' cover of Where's My Mind by the Pixies.
Your head will collapse, but there's nothing in it, and you ask yourself, where's my mind? Where's my mind? Where is my mind?
So TK Maids is a UK-based electropop R&B artist. She has been putting out a series of truly incredible EPs the last 3 years called Last Year Was Weird. So this year's Last Year Was Weird Volume 3. I thought Volume 2 was her strongest. But this was just kind of a cover that came out of the sessions for Last Year Was Weird 3. And it really does a great job in my mind of combining what I love about TK, this like really dynamic vocal performance that can span from real cutesy girly singing to very aggressive rapping, lots of range, and this like maximalist production that is kind of everywhere but still very focused on core melody. And I think a lot of times when you get like maximalist electropop production, it gets easy to lose the melody. But I don't know how much of the production she does, how much of it's collaborators. I just feel like her work is so polished in that way. Like, there's a lot going on, and there's some gritty sounds, and there's wacky samples and gang vocals, but you never lose track of where you are and what you're supposed to be paying attention to. And that is something that I think is really helpful on a track like Where's My Mind, where the vocal is kind of monotone. And particularly in the original, you have a very monotone vocal over just a repeated guitar line. And so to take that guitar line and move it across multiple instruments in this to add variation and texture, to add in gang vocal callbacks to just kind of like play with the structure of the song a little bit, I think it's a really artful and interesting cover, and it makes me appreciate the kind of like melancholic beauty of the original even more.
I don't know what to think about this. It's not terrible, but I think I feel like what I liked about the original was that it was the monotone lyrics kind of did have an absence of feeling, which is like exactly what Where Is My Mind, and then kind of hearing this, but she's singing it. It might be a little auto-tune, or affected by auto-tune. It kind of, and with the like gang vocals in it, it just feels a little. I wouldn't really call it a cover. I would definitely put this in a remix.
It's like somewhere between the two,
because it's not. It doesn't have the same spirit, for sure. Like, it doesn't. This feels like it was written for people that might know the song but want to. I don't know. There's like something weird about it. It's a good song. It's a good song. I just don't know where to place it, I guess.
I'll echo that sort of feeling, because I think also when I listened to this, I was also sort of feeling conflicted about, what's kind of happening here, right? Because I would say this isn't fully in the camp of this is like that slowed down or like EDM version of a cover or a remix, right? But I think what it does do, at the very least, it does provide a new context for the song and does allow for it to fit inside of like a playlist next to more readily available like sort of like pop or pop adjacent songs. And so that's not nothing, right? Because the original song has a lot of interesting and cool sort of like nuances to it. I think there's a lot of warmth, there's a lot of cold sort of like balancing in that song. So like, and that's because that's why it's like one of the most enduring like songs of our time, right? It's like, it's weird, but it's like it balances a lot of different kind of vibes at the same time. But you can't really put that next to, anything probably in the modern era, without some finagling, right? And so you could say, I think the song has a place at least in putting this song in a contemporary landscape. So I don't know. I agree with a little much. I don't know if that needs to be included. Feels a little cheesy, but it's not bad. I think I don't think she was trying to replace the original, and just wanted to do a slightly different version with a little bit of modern sensibilities.
Well, definitely check her out if you're into this sound at all, because she's a very interesting creator. I'm excited to see what she does moving forward. And finally, that brings us to Mr. Reed, Tyler, what'd you pick for us?
All right, folks, we got an extra special treat for you. We got My Friend of Misery covering, or My Friend of Misery by Metallica, covered by Kamasi Washington.
To save the world. Misery, you insist that the weight of the world should be on your shoulder. Misery, there's much more to life than what you see, my friend. Misery.
All right, we're in the jazz quarter, baby. So, you know, I feel like I had to do it to him, right? You know, this is a giant album that I feel like a lot of people are kind of talking about, and a lot of kind of, you know, I don't really like Metallica that much. And so I was really just looking for any excuse to you know, maybe find one gem on there that I would enjoy, right? And so, I'm not a Metallica fan, so really I was looking for any song that was going to improve upon the format in any way. And so, Kamasi Washington is a saxophonist who's sort of like really one of the more popular contemporary jazz musicians in the current era. Which I would say that like his sort of like claim to fame is sort of like almost like a saxophone maximalism. Not to use that word again in this episode. Like, I feel like he really takes that instrument and just pushes it to like the max in terms of its sound. And so like, you know, I think it's really interesting to sort of like hear this as an interpretation of this song because, you know, I think a lot of his songs do end up in this sort of like this ruckus. There's like a lot of like energy that's just being thrown about. And so that I feel like that's kind of like an interesting interpretation of kind of like how the thrash metal genre sort of like is sort of like makes like it's like sort of like sound happen. Cause usually it's a very grindy, it's a very noisy genre. And so like, you know, hearing like everyone just kind of really going at it, you know, like, and just really, performing really cool sounding stuff, and then a cut, like a sharp cut, and then just going back into something a little bit more smooth. I think the dynamics in this are really cool and really interesting. I think that, the sort of the vocal, being, sort of almost like a James Bond-esque sound, you know, is kind of neat. It's kind of cool. It's kind of sexy. I think it is quite literally the opposite of Metallica's normal vocals. So, you know, which don't normally like that. And so I will say, because just judging by the faces I'm getting in this call right now, I kind of think it was a risk that Metallica even put this on this album. You know, like, it is very different. It's very weird. It's very jazz. This is like very modern. And, you know, they didn't have to do it, but they took a chance on it, and I think it's a really cool piece. I think there's a lot to kind of dig about it.
I think when we look back on this project, this is going to be one of the covers that is remembered the most. Because, like you said, it is such a departure from the way that we think about Metallica and think about thrash metal. But, man, what a bizarre and interesting approach to this song. You know, the first time I listened to it, it really kind of turned me off. But the more I listen to it, I keep hearing things in it. And, like, I'm not super familiar with the original, which I think is part of the problem. But it definitely kind of takes that song and blows it into a million little pieces and puts it back together in a way that I was not expecting. Because a lot of times when you cover a song, you're like focusing on the key melody, like the things people know. Washington here is clearly like taking the sensibility and taking like certain licks from guitar solos and things and expanding them into big, long sax solos. Like you said, Patrice Quinn, who does the vocals on this, is giving you like Shirley Bassey Bond theme delivery. It's so cool. I don't know who's playing drums on this, but I love this percussion track. Like, it's just so powerful. I think if you've never listened to Kamasi Washington before, the thing you'll immediately catch your ear on is the saxophone run through a distortion pedal that makes up the guitar solo. But I think there's a lot of other stuff here. There's a lot of other stuff here, and it will definitely reward a lot of listens, multiple listens.
Go ahead, Sean. What do you think?
First off, she's a talented musician. I'm just going to go out of my way and say that I think that this is wonderfully done. The piano is amazing. And I just want to qualify that. I want to say that out of the gate, because what I'm about to say might sound like an insult, but actually it's comparing them against people that I really like. And it's out of respect, but it's also supposed to make it a little bit pointed. So I struggle a little bit with this song because it's difficult for me to separate. If you took away her vocals and toned down the jazziness by about 3 notches, what would be the difference between this and a virtuoso performance by Between the Buried and Me or Dream Theater? And I don't know if it really, I don't know. That's all I hear in it a little bit. I don't really... It just sounds like it's a little bit more jazzed up. It's not real, and I think that's the virtuosity of her playing. She's very good at it. But I don't always know if...
The saxophone player is a he, by the way.
Oh, okay, he, yeah.
Okay.
Is it...
The vocalist is a woman, but he is the band leader, the saxophone player.
He is the band. Oh,
Kamasi
okay,
Washington.
okay.
Yeah.
I heard her voice and just assumed that it was her band.
No.
Okay. I mean...
You're here
also
for the sax, baby.
We'll go down
You're here
that.
for the
Go down that road yourself. You all know.
Yeah.
You got the Nalgene bottles. You totally understand the joke now. And if you don't know about the Nalgene bottles,
Support us on Patreon.
check it out some other time. Right, you'll find out. But there's a logo out there for some secret sax Nalgene bottles. So I guess that's kind of why I'm not blown away by this cover, because I feel like I've kind of heard it before. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Metallica either. Maybe if they did Hey, I'd be really impressed, because I like that song about Metallica, but that's about it.
It is an interesting choice, Tyler, to pick a song by a band that we all 3 dislike.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
did
saying there's anything wrong with it, because I do think this is the covers project of the year.
Yeah, right.
Nobody paid attention to
And
McCartney 3 Imagined, except me.
Yeah. I just didn't really want to hear anyone try to do a straight up Metallica cover, I just really was...
Yeah, the Idols cover
get
was a
that.
little lacking in that way.
This is a good reimaginactment
Yeah.
of
Is that a
of
technical
Metallica.
term?
And that's why I don't want to totally dump on this song at all in any way, because it's a great cover. I guess question for you is this really your cover of the year?
If I could tell you right now, I don't know if there was a song that I'm like, wow, this was a really great cover that I heard this year.
Okay.
There wasn't anything that really I mean, I jokingly also put up the Wiggles covering Tame Impala, which is kind of funny, but that's just the extent of it, is that it's kind of funny. Just to talk about some other B-sides that I happen to find, Death Cab for Cutie did The King of Cara Flowers Part 1. There was a few things, but it's my other choice probably would have been the Enigma cover by DOS from Dawn of Chromatica. But I mean, I think I like that song just fine either way. I don't think the cover is any better or worse. I don't.
Okay.
I mean, to answer your question, yes.
Let's do something that we don't normally do here. We're supposed to pick 3 songs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Wiggles cover of Tame Impala's Elephant.
Okay.
It's not like Mr. Shut to get shy when they ask him who is on top. There must be something deep down in the middle down there.
He's not too easily scared.
He's got friends and they've got the feeling. Wouldn't
very interesting cover. And it plays on a
Yes.
bunch of different levels. It doesn't really take it too far out of the range of the original song, but it is definitely by the Wiggles. There is
Yes.
no denying that this is a song that is in their style, and it's a little kind of clean. It almost has a very like Pet Sounds kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
And a fruit salad.
Yeah, and a
Which
surprise mashup. It's a mashup and a cover.
And I think like interesting pick. You might have picked it as a joke, but I think it actually works because it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really interesting take on that song. It really plays up its like reggae beat, which I don't think is a bad thing. You know, giving it a little bit of two-tone ska. It's just not for me, but interesting.
I was really like, am I gonna want to hear this on the playlist randomly? Not really.
The Wiggles somewhere, some super fan Wiggles fan just like
Unsubscribe.
drop their juice cup or something. You know, they don't know why. They're just like, what the. All right, so Tyler already alluded to his B-sides a little bit, but B-sides, you got them. We want to hear them. Go for it.
So as I previously alluded to, Paul McCartney released a covers and remixes version of his album McCartney 3 this year, and I really liked Dominic Fike's version of The Kiss of Venus and Joshua Home's version of Lavatory Lil. And then the only other one I had that was just kind of goofy was You Don't Own Me from Matt and Kim, a cover of like a classic Broadway standard. It was just fun to hear Kim sing lead vocal on something, but I don't think it was like cover of the year, you know?
But yeah, so I found some other just like, okay, so there was a sort of cover, a sort of remake of Skater Boy called Later Boy by Ashniko that is also kind of cute, kind of fun, but mostly it's, I don't know. I feel like it was a little too divergent from being like a remix, and you know, I definitely think at some point, you know, Skater Boy could be on the playlist. I'm not saying no. It does sort of the thing where it sort of like mashes up like a trap beat with like a pop punk sort of like styling, and so like, you know, I feel like we've kind of done that. We've kind of talked about that a bit, and so I just feel like it didn't really. But I absolutely would have slammed in. Haim did a cover of That Don't Impress Me Much on like a version. I would have picked that this year, but it came out in 2018, so you know.
Yikes.
Cringe, bro.
Maybe just go on YouTube and just look up like a version.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with that YouTube series, every one of them is good.
I don't think I've clicked on one yet that's been bad. Like I think the only other one I have is, and I already put it on the playlist this year when Baby Doobie did a cover of Don't Forget About Me, and she did it in a different key that was really good. But yeah, no, interesting stuff. Covers I feel like can be either really good or totally terrible, awful, gross, garbage crap. So you have to be careful.
Well, Tyler, if people want to pay homage to you, where can they do that?
Hey, everybody. You can find me design and illustration work at rudepets.club, and as always, find me on socials as rudepetsclub on Instagram and Twitter.
Sean, if people want to chop and screw your work, where can they do that?
Find me on TellySean at InstaSean. No, just kidding. You can find me on Instagram at TellySean. That was an actual slip that I didn't even mean to do.
That was amazing. You got all the way through it before you realized you were wrong.
I know it. I could hear it when I got on the second one. I was like, oh, that's not going to work.
Nope. And if you want to perform an acoustic rendition of one of my classics, you can find me on the socials at TC Olmstead. All of these songs will be on the official No Repeat podcast playlist. All of the B-sides will be on the B-sides playlist curated by Super Deluxe Edition podcast pal Ivan Glasgow. We'll be back next week talking about our favorite classic songs from this year and years past on another episode of No Repeat.